Hello, 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 hello. I know all of you are looking like this is completely different. This is a lot. I know. I'll explain it. But first, I want to welcome you all for being here. Welcome you all to the receipts. This is the third installment. And today we're talking to some of SoCal's best producers, theater producers. I'm floored that we got them. I am excited to see what we uncover. And this is just a big win. I'm so excited. So let's recap first, and then I'm going to explain what all this is about because this is a lot. And then we're going to go straight into it. I'm not wasting it as little time as possible. Okay. So first, our first episode, of course, was Mark Richard Taylor. And I don't know why everyone is so, well, I know why, but everyone is so passionate on getting updates. Here, I'm going to move this mic a little bit more. There we go. There we go. Everyone is so passionate about updates. And of course, I'm going to give you an update. The AEA elections are pretty much done. So now all of us are on pins and needles waiting to see the results. That's the update. That's it. So in the fourth week, I will continue to answer your request, and we will continue. I might even ask for a graphic. It's just going to be like MRT watch, where we're just going to watch Mark Richard Taylor, who I just think he's very charming and funny and great. And of course, there's the problems that we continuously talk about. But I just, as all of you are, I am very eager to see the evolution. Second week, we did speak with some brave Black actors and actresses. And we are going to reference some of the things that were uncovered then today. Now, on to what is this? So as all of us are, we're trying to make the best of our situations with quarantine. And I got roped into a Juneteenth celebration. Not roped, I'm actually really excited. And I'm also excited that it's getting the attention it's getting. So we're doing all these tapings, rehearsals, live things. And then we have all this cloth and all this stuff and trying to figure it out. And as you can see, anyone that knows, the order of this flag is so wrong, but when you're trying to drape off of poles and do all this, it's too much. The colors are there. The colors are there. Juneteenth is represented. But I do want to explain for everyone who doesn't know, what is Juneteenth? So Juneteenth is the last day in which a slave was told they were free. It was 1965, June 19th. I'm sorry, 1865. Woo, I'm really excited about this day. But 1865, June 19th, the last slave was told that they were free. Now about the Pan-African flag. It's supposed to go horizontally. It is supposed to be red, then black, then green. That's why it's incorrect. But again, just representing the colors. The colors are represented. So the red, of course, is for the blood that unites us. The black is to symbolize the Black nation, us as a whole. And of course, the green is the wealth of the African land. That's Mother Africa. All right, so we got that out the way. All elephants that are in the room are out. They are out and about, free in the terrain. And now we can get to what I'm excited about. So I had someone put these biographies in random order, and I will read them in the order that they were given to me. Of course, starting first, we have Tom McCoy, executive producer of La Mirada Theater and McCoy Rigby Entertainment. MRE. So let's mine this bad boy. Tom McCoy is one of the world's premier theatrical production. McCoy Rigby Entertainment is one of the world's premier theatrical production companies. Headed by, of course, executive producers Tom McCoy and Kathy Rigby, MRE has produced over 100 musicals, plays, and concerts featuring some of the biggest stars in the industry today. Everyone, please welcome Tom McCoy.
Thank you, Davon. How are you?
I'm good. Was it all right? Was everything correct?
That was lovely. I'm humbled by the introduction, and it's so good to see you again.
Okay, I have a question for you. Are you ready?
Yep.
All right. I see here that you have produced over 100 musicals, plays, and concerts featuring some of the biggest stars in the industry today. Who was the biggest star?
Kathy Rigby. She's sitting right over here. If I don't say Kathy Rigby, I'm in deep, deep, deep trouble. Actually, that's one of the biggest stars. I produced the national tour of Jesus Christ Superstar. Carl Anderson, who was the original Judas, was in my show. Brilliant, wonderful human being. He actually passed away on tour during that process. I've worked with a bunch of other stars as well. I can't think of them right now, but some great people. But frankly, the folks that stand out the most are not the stars. They're the people that we hire at La Mirada on national tours and so on. And those are my stars.
That's why he's running the business. All right, going to second person. We have from 3D Theatricals, TJ Dawson, executive producer and artistic director. He has come in such a short time and hope it's the beginning of many more successful years to come. In a short time, 3D Theatricals has been among the most awarded and critically acclaimed theaters in Southern California, including many Ovation nominations. For anyone that's not familiar with Los Angeles, the Ovation Awards is their local Tonys. That's what that is. They've also won the very prestigious Joel Hirshhorn Outstanding Achievement in Musical Theater by the LA Drama Critics Circle. Please welcome TJ Dawson.
Hey.
Hey, TJ.
Hey, man. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Doing okay. Thrilled to be here.
I have a question. Well, not so much a question, but TJ, I'm going to let you share how we are working together moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, so it was actually because of two people. It was definitely the world, I think, and the universe putting us together. I had our casting director, Amber Sneed, when we were talking about doing panels such as this, she said, you need to look at Davon Williams and his show, The Receipts. Like, he's the guy. And then almost at the same time, you contacted me saying, Tom McCoy said I should reach out to you. So because of this lovely man up there on my screen and because of Amber Sneed, we are thrilled to be working with you and thrilled to be bringing this and hopefully many more panels of the like to the community at large. So thanks for being amazing and hosting.
I want to, since it's just the three of us, I want to thank you guys. When I suspended the show last week and I was like, I want policy change and stuff like that, I was a little nervous because I was like, I don't know if people are going to step up. And it moved me how quickly you all were like, let's get dirty. Let's do it. let's disrupt. Let's do it. So I salute you guys for that. And I thank you for coming on for this ride.
Happy to dive in.
All right, let's see who else we got here. Number 3, Gary Grossman. Producer, we have that he started his career in New York, owning 2 theater companies and a theatrical lighting company at the age of 23. At the age of 23, what was I doing? I was trying to keep that relationship alive. Gary worked at the Public Theater, Cafe La Mama, and Sheridan Square Playhouse before traveling west in the 70s to join up with the emerging theater movement in Los Angeles. Let's give a warm welcome to Gary Grossman.
Hey.
Hey, Gary.
Hey, Davon. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Hi, guys.
Hi, Gary.
On a scale of 1 to Skylight Theater Company,
Kathy Rigby.
Shout out.
No, I've already answered that one.
I thought that was the question.
Wait a minute. Did you date Kathy Rigby too?
No, I did not. I did not.
Okay. Sorry, Davon. Let's let Davon.
Poor cat.
No, I thought we were going to break news here today. I was going to let it happen.
Wait a second. Say hi to Kathy Rigby really fast, everybody.
Oh my God.
Take that mask off so they can see your face.
Hi,
Thank you what you're doing. Thank you. Mwah.
Okay, put your mask back on.
We're getting
Sorry, we didn't mean to take over your show, Davon.
No, I appreciate it. We got a celebrity cameo because of you. In the mask, can never be too careful. Who do we have next? Oh, there he is. We have Paul Garman of Musical Theater West. Here's an interesting fact. He began his association with the company as a performer in 1963 It was an all-volunteer organization housed in Whittier High School's auditorium. And now look where it is today. It is a professional operation in Long Beach. Everyone, please help me welcome Paul Garman.
Hi, Davon. Happy to be here.
Hello,
Thank
Paul.
you.
Paul, I have a question for you. I'm going to get straight to it. We're going to get to the meat. Paul, you've been in the industry for a very long time. What have you been with longer? That shirt or that office?
The shirt I bought last week, the office I moved in 2004.
I love it. Some people dye their hair. Some people give extreme haircuts. You went and bought a shirt. I love it. I live
I
for
have
it.
to support the local economy.
Our last person is Stephen Glaudini, producing artistic director of Moonlight. This is a funny story. It was 22 years ago, well, we got to add some more years to that, that Steve made his Moonlight debut as Smee in Peter Pan, and he began a love affair ever since. Recent credits, of course, include director, The Little Mermaid, Peter Pan, Big Fish, My Fair Lady, South Pacific, insert 10 more titles here. You get where I'm going with this. He actually won a 2008 San Diego Critics Award for Best Director. You can't fight that. Everyone, please help me welcome Stephen Glaudini.
Hello, Steve.
Hey.
It's a delayed reaction.
Steve, I have a question for you.
Hi, guys. I'm hearing a lot of crackling. Are you guys?
I'm hearing crackling now.
Now that you're in the room,
Yeah, now that you're coming.
I think we're having a
Should
shoddy internet problem.
Log
I
out
think,
and come back in?
yeah, come back in, but and then when you come back in, I'll ask you a question, okay? All right. Now that it's just us, guys, I have a lot of gossip about Steve. No, I'm joking. I want to break through essentially what we're going to cover. The topics I really want to hit today, in regards to Black lives and Black theater mattering and things of the like, I found 5 things that I think will get a lot of clarity and get us in the right direction. Number 1, we're going to go right off the bat and talk about investment. Number 2, I'm really interested in data analysis, just going with the facts. And then I want to play a game, and I'll explain the game a little bit later. After that game, we're going to have a discussion about accountability. And then we're going to see and try and pull together what we've taken from all of this. Sounds fun?
Great.
Sounds good.
All right. So my first question is, I look at you guys, I see five successful producers. Welcome back, Steve. I see 5 successful producers, and I'm actually going to pause this question because, Steve, I actually have a question for you. Are you still crackling?
Yeah, it sounds like someone's tap dancing or something.
Yeah.
Crackling with a beat.
He can barely talk.
I don't understand because
It was perfect for a second.
Okay, well, Colleen's going to try to fix the laptop.
All right, great. When you come back, we'll be ready for you, all right? Okay, so our show is actually about tech problems. No. So I'm looking at you guys. I see a lot of successful producers. I see long resumes. I see everything going well with your model. Because the model is working, my big question to you all is, why change it?
Was it working?
Yeah, I was gonna say I think that personally I don't think it's working. I think that's really the point. And I agree with Gary. I understand like the question because you do look at the theaters as being like these successful entities, but I said yesterday with everyone that we all get so buried and busy and our heads go so deeply into the sand because we're so about putting out the fire in this show and what's coming up next and planning 2-3 years out or whatever the case may be, and donors and all the different things that we have to do, and we don't take the time. I think that we've been given this gift of time right now to reassess and figure out a lot of things that need to be changed about I'm sure each individual organization, has many things about it that they're getting to do right now. I know we are, certainly. So that's my short answer.
It'll certainly work better, Davon, when we implement the changes that we're going to talk about today and the changes that we've been actually putting into place over the past couple of months, with more representation from the Black community in terms of not only actors on stage, absolutely that, but directors, choreographers, designers, everyone of the, in that world, in the designer world. And we are actively reaching out to that community, have 20, 30 additional brand new resumes to look at and bring people in for interviews. That's when it'll work even better. It's working-ish. It can work much, much better, and it will.
And I think for us at Musical Theater West, it's a subject we've been really deep diving into for the last couple of years. We have a diversity committee on our board, an inclusion committee, and it's just given fire to it. It's given us really more ways to reach out and more ways to go. But our goal is really to try to see if we can mirror more in our organization what our community holds, because here in Long Beach, we have one of the most diverse communities in Southern California. And so our goal is to really try to see that reflected throughout our organization on stage and with the board and staff and everything else. And that has been our goal for a while, but this has really just given us a good impetus.
Right. It's all what we can do, what more we can do. And we're looking at that. I think you're right, TJ. We've been given the time to now really look at this and figure out, I'm in my stats looking at, where we can improve, how we can do better. It's always doing better. It's always revising the model to work and to understand. This is a problem. And it's been a problem that's been around. We've been addressing it, but we haven't addressed it as strongly as we really needed to do. And we're seeing that now. And I'm happy that all the theaters are ganging together and putting out their statements and their action plans. And that's important.
Gary, as you bring up action plans, I have another question for all of you. What have you already done to improve the life of Black actors?
Can I ask for a clarification, meaning like prior to or since this has happened?
Since today. So you can go post George Floyd, you can go before that. I'm just saying what actionable items are already implemented.
I'd like to say, like, kind of tagging these two things together that we were just talking about, that, we had felt we were, kind of among the, at the forefront of really trying to look at, casting diversely and a lot of stuff happens behind the scenes that a lot of people don't realize. Like for example, with Kinky Boots, I looked for, we even pushed our auditions out 3 months, or no, two or so months late, because we were trying to hire a team of color or by POC, specifically Black director and Black choreographer, and then didn't find one available and ended up with an also amazing team. But a lot of people don't see a lot of the behind the scenes things, but we were already thinking we were doing well, and then when you put your data together and you go, yeah, I see the holes in that, you know what I mean, and how much more we need to do. And so ourselves, which I think is going to be, I'm sure, a part of another discussion, but you look at, there are not a lot of musicals. Specifically, we produce musicals. Tom produces both plays and musicals, but I think Gary does as well. But the other three of us only produce musicals, and so there are not a lot of works that are commercial, which is largely what most regional theaters are producing, that are existing works. There are a few amazing regional theaters, like Goodspeed as an example, who are heading the way of new works and have a great new works program. But most of us are producing, commercial works, and there are not a lot of works that are by people of color, for people of color, and most of the works that exist are about oppression, racism, and not about normalizing and just showing that culture in a different light, so.
TJ, you kind of broke us in, so I'm going to open this question up a little bit more. We're still going to stick on the same topic. I just want to move us into data analysis. So for everyone that's watching, I spoke with these wonderful producers and I asked them if they could go back, do a little homework assignment, and give me the data of their last 5 years or a little bit more. And the reason I asked them to do that was so I could look at it, try and draw some things, figure out some patterns. But I also wanted to see what would happen when, of course, they had to look at this data. So my question evolved a little bit more. What did you learn or what did you pull after you looked at your past history?
I think if I could just go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, TJ.
No, yeah, just I didn't get to really button my thing, and that just to tag on that seeing the whole, seeing like where we were succeeding, but then where we weren't, and that we don't have access to these works, but why? And it's not always the producers, because it's a collaboration what we do. So it's a lot of the times what the director wants or the choreographer wants, and there's always a discussion and sometimes heated discussion. But we, why are we all so hyper focused, or maybe even not hyper focused, but passively focused on what has come before? Why are we looking at shows like 42nd Street or whatever the show, a non-race based show, and why are they still so white in their appearance? I look at some of our shows that have been, since we've been proactive about trying to cast diversely, that were totally white, like no people of color in it.
Tom, sorry, DJ, go ahead.
Davon, when I sent you my data in my letter to you, I said this was an eye-opening experience, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to actually go back and look at that data. I thought we were the first regional theater to do Once on This Island, Dreamgirls. We took it to La Mirada, to Japan. Ain't Misbehavin', our award-winning show. We're putting Black actors in typically white roles, like Brandon Burks as Cosmo in Singing in the Rain, or Michael Shepard as Trunchbull in Matilda. But it's not enough. I thought we were doing a good job with that, and we all were being equitable as much as I thought we could. But in putting the data together, when you actually look at it on paper, you go, wow, there are gaps, and significant gaps. And why are those gaps? And we can start back from the beginning of casting, but I think it even goes back even further. It's my job to make sure that the design teams that I hire, directors, choreographers, etc., from this moment on, and I thought I was doing a pretty good job of it in the past, but the data showed me that I could do better. But from this moment on, if my design teams aren't into equitable casting, they don't get hired. It's just that simple. They don't get the job because it's their approach and it's their breakdown that goes to our casting director, that goes out, et cetera, as we cast a net for, who we're putting in these shows and what we're looking for. Mm-hmm. Again, if they don't want to follow and become more equitable and much more equitable in their casting, they won't get hired.
Tom, I want to follow up with you, and then I'm going to let Gary and Paul get in on this.
Right.
You said if someone isn't into equitable casting, you're not really interested in working with them. And my question is more so in the idea that, of course, you looking at the data now has opened your eyes. Now, there's a lot of things that even myself I'm blind to because of culture and things of the like. So what I've noticed in industries outside of theater, sometimes there's panels. They will invite a panel to come on who is competent in the idea of, let's just say, race. They are professionals in it, and they're able to give advice. I know that we have budgets that are giving lines to dramaturgs, directors. Have any of you, Tom, of course you first, thought about the idea of having a cultural panel when dealing with shows like Dreamgirls and things like that, just to look over and make sure that, one, the director who's planning on taking on this show is qualified?
Abso-frigging-lutely. And you can be the head of that panel if you'd like to. We can put that together. And I would come to New York if you want to do that panel out there, or you come out here and we'll put that together. And as we put the seasons together, TJ was talking briefly, I mean, we have to look ahead 2, 3, and 4 years out. I love all the producers on this dais. But we're competitors. We're all trying to get that title. We're all trying to maneuver and try to get those few titles that become available after national tours, etc. I would gladly accept and be a part of and organize a panel like that as we're looking to put those 5 shows in our 22-23 season, our 23-24 season, that far out. And then also talk about design teams that we would match with those shows. Absolutely.
And we're putting together, the staff and I have been in conversation and taking meetings and readjusting the way we think. And again, I echo what Tom was saying. Looking at the stats, I thought we were way above what was happening, and it's eye-opening and disturbing to say the least. To know we thought we came so far, but we need to come so far more. And so we're looking at that now. We're looking at using what we're calling cohorts to come in and discuss with us the different aspects of where we're going, including the casting, including the hiring of staff, and what we do regarding it. I mean, we're not in a position to be fighting Tom and the others for the first shots in LA of these musicals, but what we're doing is we create all new. It's everything that we do is new works. And that's important too, because we have to be the voices of all of this, of the diversity that's in our community. And we're trying to be equitable, but at the same time, we need to figure out where we're adjusting right now. And that's what we're about to do.
And I would say from Musical Theater West, and I love, Gary, the fact that you can do the new works and that you have that opportunity. That's been one of my dreams, to be able to do more new works through the years, and really to be able to encourage that. The eye-opener for me with the data, which I had actually compiled before we even started this panel, because after we had a panel for Musical Theater West a couple of weeks ago, I went through the last 10 years and really looked at it. I thought I was going in the upward direction. I've actually gone the downward direction the last 2 years, even with doing ragtime this year. And so it was really eye-opening for me to have gone in the downward direction when on the surface I thought I was going in the upward direction. We've got a long ways to go in hiring of the crews and the creative teams. And I agree with Tom, having a panel would be a wonderful thing. But what I'd like to pick up on is what TJ said. Often we are looking for that show which could feature a diverse cast. And what really hit me over the last couple of weeks is just, let's take the shows that we're doing already and make sure that we're diversifying those casts and that we're putting, the leads that we want to put in there. And we've done that a little bit over the years, but we haven't done it as much recently. And part of it is because we haven't had the people coming out. So one of the things that we've really committed to here is really working to get more people coming out, getting the word out there, and then not settling. We're in a 2 or 3 day rehearsal audition period. The directors go back to New York. We feel like we have to finish it. If we don't find what we're really looking for, we're just going to hold out. And so that means casting earlier. So we have that opportunity.
I would love to, I'd love to jump in on that, in that we were thinking the same exact thing where, we've been truly open to it and very vocal about it, even in our breakdowns, not just posting the equity blurb that you're required to post, but really, and trying to reach out to the community and trying to cast that way, again, thinking we were doing a good job of that. And then, but I think that what needs to start happening, to tag on to Paul's point, is that decisions in advance, because I think the BIPOC community has been rightfully so, the mindset is that it's going to be a waste of time. If I go out for Newsies, if I go out for MAME, if I go out for The Sound of Music, I'm not going to be cast because of my color, you know, and it's going to be a waste of time because I'm going to be in the room with white people that have been traditionally cast in these roles or what have you, right? So I think that in advance, we need to make, like when we did Mamma Mia, we said we didn't know it at the time that they were going to be the first 2 women of color to ever play those parts in the world, which is disturbing. But that, and we, a whole nother conversation, but that we set out in our ad that we were going to cast those women as women of color. And it took us 5 months, I think, to find them. And it's exactly what Paul said, is that you can't just go, well, they didn't show up, you know what I mean? Like, so we have to cast this, or like, you know, the director going, well, the people, you know, BIPOC people didn't show up, or the ones that did weren't as good as these people, so we want the best show, right? And it's like, okay, well, yes, we do want the best show, but we need to spend the time reaching out into that community, because that community is at the moment done reaching out to us.
Yeah. Right. I think I think what you just brought out is exactly where it is, which is we've got to do more. We know that it's our responsibility as the leaders of these organizations, as the leaders of this, you know, in our communities regarding this, that we can't put it on their shoulders. We cannot put it on the BIPOC community. It's got to be on the theater, the boards, our you know, staff. We lead. That's our job, and we have to step up and take responsibility. And you know, and I have to look at it, or you know, I have to look at where I fall in this, and what my misgivings are, and we've all made it. We've all done it. We all know it, and this is a good wake up call, a really good wake up call, and you know, a lot of us have been through the '60s and had wake up calls before, but this is a major wake up call.
All right. Let's talk about wake up calls. I'm going to ask if everyone can be pulled away and I can get time with TJ Dawson.
Hey,
one-on-one.
just in time for Steve.
Yeah.
It's your solo number as soon as Steve comes back in.
Yeah.
All right. Could I get the clip for Forbes magazine? In this article, we have Janice Gassam. Oh my God, please let me say I'm saying that name correctly. Says, dear companies, your Black Lives Matter posts are cute, but we want to see policy change. And in that article, she says 4 things. She suggests that they talk about race, monthly inclusion events, address systematic issues, but she also talks about the idea of limiting referral hiring, as she calls it. When I looked at your data, I had 3 questions that came up. The first one being, and you kind of touched on it a little bit before, I see diversity. I see Black women, I see Black men, and I think you gave me more than 5 years. I think you gave me like a decade.
10, 11 years, yeah.
You gave me 11 years. 11 years, you said?
Mm-hmm.
So when I looked at that, I was like, okay, there's diversity. As I looked closely, I saw a repeat of the same names. And the first thing that hit my head was, were these the best Black actors for the job that we had to keep using, or were they the comfortable choices?
It's a great question. Yeah, they were. We always pride ourselves, because our casting room is open. We always allow, if someone's ever interested in being a part of the casting process, we allow them to sit in on it, because we pride ourselves in every part of it, the discussion, the casting. We'll ask their opinions, because we pride ourselves on being truly fair. If a role is pre-cast, you will know it before you walk in. So the people that have ended up in our shows have truly been, it doesn't mean that the people who have not ended up in our shows are not incredibly talented. But as you know, as being an artist, when you're putting together this puzzle, certain puzzle pieces just fit better when you're making the picture fit better with other puzzle pieces. And so yeah, the people that have ended up in our shows, I would say, have been the best that have walked into the room, or if we went out and sought it out, they have been the best people.
I love me some Amber Sneed. I think she's so funny. I remember the first time we met. It was at a opening night party. I forget what it was, but she is so funny.
Yeah.
Then I found out she had a relation to 3D Theatricals, which is.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell me.
I was trailing.
She is our casting director, and has been. Her title has evolved over the years, as you saw in the data. I always had mainly because I had a negative association with casting directors. I don't honestly. They are the ones that stack the room, right? They're the ones that get the people in front of the team, and then the team takes it over from there. And a lot of people think casting directors have a lot of power once the team comes in. They generally don't. But they have all the power leading up to that moment. And I myself have fallen, we all have fallen victim in some way, shape, or form to a casting director who has preferences. And so I never used a casting director, and it was all like all of us, a collaboration in that process. And then Amber's title kept changing, and then eventually became our casting director. And I'm so thrilled because she's so good at it. Like, it should have happened years before it did, but she's amazing. So yeah.
The question that gets a little complicated, and of course, in our industry, tale as old as time, incestuous behavior. So how do you defend, of course, saying like you found the best people for the job? We have Amber who works there. We're looking for more inclusion, more diversity, more equity, and we find that her name shows up in casting a lot as part of the cast. How do you defend that?
Yeah. So what we do when it comes to anybody that works for the company or is a family member, for example, it's actually some of the first advice I ever got from Kathy Rigby was like, you never have your family audition. No matter how fair you think you're being, people are going to walk into that room and go, well, this is a gigantic waste of time. So we made the decision early on that if we knew we wanted to use, and with Amber specifically, it changed as she grew into being a part of our staff, because she started as an actor and then grew into being a part of our staff. But so when it comes to those types of things, we always announce that they are precast, because we know that we want to give this person this job, or like when we did Shrek again, it was before, when she was not our casting director, she was in Shrek, and so it was like giving her, and then now as an equity artist instead of a non-equity artist, so but yeah, we don't do it often, as much as it may seem like with her name specifically, because she transitioned from being one to another. We really try to be careful. There are roles that I could have played, roles that Amber could have played, roles that any one of us could have played that we have not done. But we do see that needs to happen even more often. But yeah, there are many of us who are still, I think personally, like when I have dipped my toe in to like do Shrek, for example, it makes me a more, I feel like, sensitive director and producer when I remember what actors put themselves through. It's the more distant you become from it, the more I feel like insensitive you are about what it is to be an actor. So I feel like it's important to kind of keep your toe in the water every once in a while.
All right, I'm going to pause you for a second. I'm going to ask for Tom McCoy, because of course you brought up Kathy Rigby.
Yeah.
Hey, Tom.
Davon.
Okay, so I have a question for you, only because you were brought up a little bit. Right now, we're talking about referral hiring destroying us, and it was quoted that Kathy Rigby said, "Do not bring in your family." How has that advice helped when it comes to casting and, of course, creating a safe, fair environment?
In my world, in terms of casting, we throw out a wide net. I want all comers all the time. I want to bring in everybody we possibly can, and our casting director does that. It goes through the process. It gets to me when I go to the final callback. I can tell you that I sit behind that table, and when a person of color walks in, I get more excited and sit up straighter. Isn't that interesting? But I do. I sit up straighter because I want the best people in front of me, and I want to hire those people. And we have to a point that we can do much better. Would you repeat that question one more time? I want to make sure that I'm answering it properly.
You definitely answered it. Don't worry about it. I'm going to pull TJ away because you just brought up something very interesting. Can you show me Jekyll and Hyde?
Can I show you Jekyll? Oh, there it is. Okay.
There it is. What's this?
This is the artwork for Jekyll and Hyde. We produced the show at La Mirada. It then went on the road and went to Broadway. It didn't last long on Broadway, but that's Constantine, that's Deborah Cox, and this is our production of Jekyll and Hyde, ours with several other producers, the Nederlanders and others.
All righty, we could pull that away. So that's a very bold decision. Of course, I have to ask it. How did you get here?
In terms of
nothing, it's a dog whistle for the audience. But what I'm pretty much asking is, what made you choose Deborah Cox?
Gorgeous, brilliant, the voice, the acting, a no-brainer. Matter of fact, she was chosen before anybody else was. She was chosen before anybody else was. We needed a Jekyll Hyde that could, that had a rock voice, and Constantine has that rock voice. He was on Broadway in a couple of rock shows. He played that role well, but Deborah Cox was at the top of the list, and we were jumping up and down with glee when she said yes, believe me.
Was it your intention to hire a Black actress?
Absolutely. There's no doubt about that. We had several other Black actresses on our list to choose from, all of them brilliant, all of them wonderful. But Deborah was at the top of that list. And when you're trying to cast a show, it's so difficult. You can say, sure, let's go after him or her. Then the agent gets involved, then the money gets involved, and issues get involved. And then sometimes they drift away and sometimes they don't. But Deborah kept saying, yes, I want to do this. And we kept jumping up and down every time we would check off each category: money, availability. Can she do the tour? Is she ready to, to go on the road next year? What about her family? Blah, 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 blah. And they were all yeses, and we were thrilled.
That's a Canadian actress too. Was that complicated at all?
No, not really. No, that's a fairly simple thing. We hire Canadian actors and actresses at times. It can be tough when you've got a tour, Davon, and you're crossing the border into Canada. Sometimes there are issues involved with that, mostly cross-border things, but not really with Canadian actors.
Could we play the August Wilson LA Times article? Not play, it's an article. All right. So in this section, August Wilson says, and this is 1996. I was in school when this was brought to my attention. Lordy. Los Angeles Times. August Wilson says, Black actors in Death of a Salesman or in any other play conceived for white actors? Forget it, says August Wilson, America's most prominent Black playwright. It is an insult to our intelligence. We do not need colorblind casting. We need some theaters to develop our Black playwrights. All right. So looking at what you've done, the success of what you've done, where do you stand in that statement by August Wilson?
I just joined a group called Inclusion Media. It's called Inclusion Media Group. I'm now with them, and it is in effect much like the NAMP competitions. It's a competition for brand new plays and musicals written and conceived by Black writers, Black orchestrators, a Black team. So I'm on that group now. We're going to start putting together competitions regarding that. We're gathering submissions. So I'm on that. I'm thrilled to be on that. I'm brand new on that, and I'm excited about where that's going to go. And the winners, if you will, of the competition will then produce a stage reading, either on the stage at La Mirada or someplace, and show that work to as many people as possible with the probability of producing that work.
Alrighty. Because you brought up Brandon Burks and we had him as a guest last time, I kind of want to bring all the producers back in the room. And while you do that, can you play the Brandon Burks clip?
And I don't want to feel like because I was honest about, me being disrespected, that I will then be seen as problematic, hard to work with, when that's really not true. It's just a matter of this is what happened and this is how I was treated. And I want people to know that it's not only in the streets, it's also in our theaters, it's in our schools, it's in our
Alrighty. And now can we go to because I just want to open this up a little bit more. Can we go to the NBC New York video?
I felt that way.
Despite the stinging memories, neither wants to name names, instead choosing to use this moment to push for change.
The issue is much larger than this person or that person, for me personally.
Their demands have the support of several Broadway heavy hitters like Lin-Manuel Miranda, Sandra Oh, and Viola Davis. The Broadway League, the group that represents theater owners and producers, told us, we recognize that we need to first listen and be willing to have difficult conversations. Our members have been meeting with their casts, companies, and other members of the theater community, listening to needs and concerns in order to set out a pathway forward.
All right. Those are a lot of heavy hitters who are supporting Lin-Manuel, the Broadway League. Even with you guys in the room, I took a survey, Tom, of some of the Black actors who have worked with you, and they go, we see Tom McCoy as an ally. So we have Brandon, who has said we have these issues in theater. We have those two artists, Cody, who's a stage manager, who have come out and said the same exact thing. We have all that support. And yet what I found most interesting about that NBC report is that they didn't want to name names. Even when it seems like the ball is in their court, they didn't want to name names. And at this point, you all are telling me great things about what you're doing and how proactive you are. But what I'm interested in is, should we be protecting promoters of a racist culture? And are people who stay silent part of the problem?
Yeah, I think, again, the Broadway Coalition put out this pledge. I don't know if you've seen it. Say again?
I'm sorry. Gary, keep going.
Anyway, Broadway Coalition put out this pledge, and the pledge is taken by artists, all sorts of artists, and basically saying that you can't tolerate, and that you've got to be aware, you've got to speak out, and I think that's inherent in all of us. We're all going to have to monitor, be aware of, watch, and make sure that each of us holds true to the pledge.
Have any of you heard of the Kilroy list? Sorry, Gary. The Kilroy list is 33 most recommended unproduced new plays by women, trans, and non-binary authors, per our survey results. I think that list helps a lot. I just want to put that out there, make sure that everyone's aware of that, and continue with that question. Should we be outing the people who promote racist culture? And should we start naming people who want to stay silent for preservation of their career as part of the problem?
I think there's a three-parter thing. First of all, I think I've noticed in setting up this panel, even there were people that didn't reply, from theater groups, people that did reply that were like, I wanna listen. I feel like right now is the time to listen. And in setting up this panel, we talked to, initially I thought, oh, we should have this be for Black voices and to talk about their experiences and figuring out change. And every single one of them independently, their own was like, the white people in theater who are in charge of theater need to be the ones having these conversations because to be held accountable and to create real change. So I think that listening silently is dangerous. I think listening out loud and being well, open to making mistakes and being able to be corrected and to move forward, towards progress is important. I also feel like we've seen a lot of lives decimated online. I know there's one in particular person of this community whose life will never be the same, but it was a necessary moment and story to tell. And I think though that there are a lot of people who are teachable versus who are actually if you are actually a racist, if that's something that can be proven, those people should be outed and should be named. If you're someone who is teachable, that can still be outed and named, but in such a way that I feel like can be about progress and about change and not, creating more pain and sorrow, but addressing it and then moving forward.
Outed and
Right. I'm sorry, Tom.
outed and named is one thing. If there's a racist in this business, karma is a bitch, and they're going to not be in this business that much longer.
Yeah.
Period. Yes, out them, name them, whatever, as long as it's honest and it's not vindictive and it's a teachable moment, I guess. But if there are racists in positions of power in this business, they're not going to last.
Then let's tackle that really quick. Can we play reparations? I'm gonna just straight up ask you: in the theater world, are Black theater actors owed reparations?
Yes.
All right, straight up there. Now, I'm encouraging everyone to see the last episode. Benet has an incredible story, and we'll probably end up playing more of it. But with her saying that, people who were not online also agreed. And I don't think I heard one person disagree. So this is how I'm going to form this question. If it is made public and proven that you or your company had a hand in the exploitation or mistreatment of a Black body, would you be open to paying for those sins of the past to preserve our future through a form of reparations, which could be financial, which could be giving up your power or something of the like? Would you be open to that?
Speaking of Brandon Burks, let me just touch on that because you played his video, and Brandon played Cosmo Brown for me in our production of Singing in the Rain. What was that, last year? A wildly successful production. And I wasn't aware of this until yesterday when I actually saw that video of Brandon saying that he was instrumental in providing choreography and especially the tap parts of the show to the director choreographer. It was one man who played it was the director and choreographer. I had no clue that Brandon was involved and added to it, in whatever level the brilliant tap that our audiences saw and that I saw. And if he was, man, I wish he would have called me. I love Brandon. I've known him for 10 years. And I told him 2 weeks ago when I chatted with him, pick up the phone next time, dude, call me and tell me this is going on. But reading rehearsal reports every day as I do, reading show reports, I never read anything where there was any question about that. That said, if we find that that's true, and I'm going to look into it, he should absolutely get a check for participating and being involved with certain choreographical parts of that show. Absolutely.
Yeah, I would agree that, of course, if there's a situation like that, if any of us have been part of that and someone is not, has been used in some way like that, 100% reparations are due in some way. I myself, I won't name, even the organization at this moment, but I have been hired to direct a show that I even said I would give my position up. This is at a different theater, to if it will help, give that give someone of color, the job, so yes, 100%. I am of that mindset. And I think the only way for us to, Tom had no idea that was going on in his house, you know what I mean? And I think that there is a lot. I had actors who, the thing to tag on your point, Tom, is that what I'm hearing, even like, so I had 2 actresses, I think we all call them actors now, but the actors that came to me in a recent conversation that had a racist moment happen to them during a show about racism, and after we've had these big talks and in our cast and open dialogues and creating a room of safety, and it was a comment said by a person of a certain generation that they thought they were being funny and friendly with their friends when it wasn't funny or friendly and not their place to do that. And I didn't find out till years later that it happened. And I was like, why didn't you know me? We've worked together. We're friends. Like we actually were. They weren't just like first time hires. And they didn't want to be perceived as the big D word. They called it difficult. And they didn't want to try to make something out of nothing when that was not, that's not nothing. And so we ourselves, Tom talked about the Inclusion Media Group, which we're also involving ourselves with, as I believe, Paul, you are as well. But there's another group that's coming. Our friend and colleague Brandon Michael Mace is launching this incredible thing. I urge all of you to look into, and it's going to be a hotline where I can, on the first day as a producer, go into the room and tell everyone, I want you to be safe here. I want you to know that you genuinely can come knock on my door and have any conversation that you want, and I'm here to protect you. And I say things of the like anyway, but knowing that people still don't feel genuinely safe that they can come to me or to their stage management team. So he's launching a hotline that is going to be for BIPOC people to talk to BIPOC people that will then handle the issue with the theater. And I think that's going to be such a powerful tool for people to be able to use to make sure these things don't go silent and that they do get handled in the moment.
Paul, we're talking about the pledge. Oh, do we have Paul?
Paul's frozen. Can I talk from you?
Look at that.
Well,
Oh, there he is. Oh, he's up.
Okay. Yeah, I keep getting frozen and I have to leave to try to get back in and I can't comment. So I really, sorry about that. Look, I'm unfrozen right now. Bren's here trying to help me keep unfreezing the computer. I think the one thing I've learned through all this and also through the whole COVID thing is that we just have to communicate better and we have to be accountable. And like TJ, at every first rehearsal, I talk to the cast. I say, I'm here all the time. I'm up in my office. Anything that you feel you want to talk about, please come up and talk to me about it. And, I do have occasionally actors do that. But I think we need to make that open door policy so much larger in our theaters. And so that they know that they have access to the top person and that they can come and knock on that door anytime that they want. And if something was brought to me like that, yes, of course, I'd want to make repercussions. I've had that situation that Tom had with Singing in the Rain, not with a person of color, but with another dance captain that said, I really did most of the choreography, Paul. The other guy really didn't do it. And I've given that person a nice bump. Once it was brought up to me after the production, after the director and the choreographer had left, when I investigated and really felt that was true, talking with the other dancers, I have had to do that and have felt right about doing that. So I just think it's always a matter of having that open door policy and feeling like people can talk to us about anything.
Gary, and then I'm going to hit Steve.
I agree. I agree with what's been said here. I mean, we're all possible. Nobody's perfect, and there's going to be missteps. And if we have open dialogue, and we have good intentions, then that wins out. And yes, absolutely.
Steve?
Well, we've always said that Moonlight is family, and we invite you to the family. And I'm at every performance as artistic director. And so I have a great open door policy with all my actors. But it's interesting because I had an actress who was in a show here 9 years ago, so that's before I took over, who wrote me an email about that there was someone backstage who was a racist. And they didn't want to name who it was, but they just wanted me to know so I could have my ears and eyes open. Luckily, I figured it out and the person's no longer here, but I just felt like someone had to carry that pain for 9 years. And it took this movement for that actor to share the news. And it really did, it upset me and it really moved me. And that's because we're in this moment. And absolutely 100%, we are accountable. We are. And as far as I've had the same thing, I've had a dancer come and say, I've done this, and of course we pay them. We do indeed.
Can I get a one-on-one with Steve? Now that he has working internet and everything else. Oh Lord. Steve, Moonlight Theater has a very interesting youth theater and education program. I researched it. I think it's really strong. It reminds me of my time in Philadelphia when I was a teaching artist. I would have, of course, threw a resume your way. Hence, I think you're best to deal with this new topic. Can we play the John Devereaux clip? John, it was the very first part. I was almost tricked into a show that would have had me rapping a song called I Hate Immigrants in front of a high school audience that was 99% children of color. Can we play Jane Elliott?
You've been doing this a long time. So what do you think we need to do?
We need to stop believing the myth. In this country, what we call education is actually indoctrination. And it takes us from the ages of 5 to the age of 18 to thoroughly indoctrinate people so that they will believe in the myth of white superiority. And it is a myth. Now, you can't do that while you're teaching that Columbus discovered America.
Now, looked at your data, looked at everything else. Do you think you are part of the problem when it comes to indoctrination, or do you think your education department is doing work to get us away from those ideals?
I think, well, I would hope, because the foundation, our 24/7 fundraising arm, is the one who runs our youth theater. It used to be with the Moonlight, and then it moved to our foundation. I think they're doing that 100%. And when you talk to Paul, they actually bring high school students and kids to their shows, and they edit when they need to. But no, it's our responsibility, in my opinion. If you're just talking about getting our youth and giving them the truth early on, and letting them be a part of a BIPOC company, it needs to be the new norm.
All right, let's bring everybody back in, because I want to open this discussion up a little bit more. While you're bringing everyone in, can we get Whoopi Goldberg?
Programming. So HBO Max announced that they're pulling Gone with the Wind until they can find a way to put it in historical context. And Paramount canceled the long-running series Cops over concerns about racist depictions. Now, personally, I think if you put things in a historical context, because if you start pulling every film, you're going to have to pull Coffee, you're going to have to pull all the blaxploitation movies because they're not depicting us the right way. This is a very long list of films. If you put, before you show the film, listen, this was shot when things were different, and we don't do this anymore. That's what you have to put something in context. And I think with Cops, listen, if you balance the people you arrest, if you arrested the...
All right, so let's reform that. Should we shelve our theater shows that are perceived as racist, sexist, problematic, nationalistic, etc., or should we try and rework them?
I think we should rework them. TJ mentioned 42nd Street. There's a brand new version of 42nd Street that was just produced at the Ordway in St. Paul, and I went up there to see it. It's the cast is complete equality. And the choreography is more stomp-like than the old-fashioned tap, and it's pretty brilliant. And I think I'll bring it here and do it here. And so, yeah, I think that there's, you can take shows that are old chestnuts and rework them, if you will, to bring them up to, where we need to be in terms of equality in this day and age. Then again, there are some shows that you can't save.
Well, like what do we do? What happens with Book of Mormon and Avenue Q as two, I think, strong examples, oddly by largely the same team. There are problematic things within both of those shows, more in Book of Mormon than and there's this conversation, have the win kind of problem, within it?
I think there's our jobs are to educate and re-educate, and I think, obviously there are things that cross the line that can't be fixed, but there are plenty that can be looked at and talked about, and a discussion beforehand, discussion afterwards. There's a whole subject there, but to take it off, to basically do a book burning in a sense, or a theater burning right now of a mass destruction. I don't think that. I think you take it case by case and see what you can do and how you can rework, reform, and talk about it.
Yeah, I think it's a time for sensitivity. I mean, there's the shows that you shouldn't shelf because it's history, and history needs to be remembered in Big River and Ragtime. But other shows like TJ, Book of Mormon, it's we have to be sensitive now as to.
And should have always been. I didn't go see that show. Speaking of Book of Mormon, I didn't see it until a couple of years ago because I couldn't bring myself to see it for a lot of reasons. I just was the work itself. I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm going to be sitting there and I'm going to burst into flames or something when I do. And I went to see it because these patrons, great people, they were like, we have these tickets that we can't use, and we know you haven't seen it. We really want you to see it. So they like gifted me their tickets to Seekerstorm, and I went to go see it. And I was hoping that by the end of the show, there was going to be some big aha moment that was going to make somehow everything I just witnessed and like my mouth was on the floor and somehow make it all okay. And that didn't happen for me. I'm sure other people have that same or different reactions, of course, as we all do to art. But so like I know I'll never produce that show, like for a multitude of reasons. I know I can probably speak for Paul Garman that he will never produce that show.
Yes, you can. For many reasons.
Yeah. And so, but I mean, like, but there was a conversation. Does it come back to Broadway? Is that a show that when Broadway comes back, should that come back? And I can't begin to speak, on that as other than I personally say no, but I don't know what, like Davon, like have you had conversations about that show in particular and its impact and effect? Like, do you, just to redirect a question back your way, what are your thoughts on maybe that show in particular?
Oh, my thoughts. Okay, so my thoughts are bountiful, but for this platform, I have to like take myself out of the conversation. Yeah, so what I can say is that I have done a survey on Book of Mormon. 5 people who worked in Book of Mormon, they're all Black actors and actresses. 5 out of 5 agree that they believe the show is racist. I have 5 people who made it to 5 final callbacks for Book of Mormon who say, I believe the show is racist. I have 5 people who refuse to audition for Book of Mormon. 5 out of 5 say the show is racist. I don't think you need my opinion on the show.
Yeah, I agree.
I also find very interesting in regards to that show when I look at the data is that the sad truth is the people who made it to final auditions and the people who were in the show making it 10 out of 10 all said we did it because our career needed it or our pockets needed it.
Yeah, and that's so sad that we are producing work that, as a whole, that Black actors feel like they have to be a part of something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like that makes me sick to my stomach. And it's like that there shouldn't be work out there that is that. And so anyway,
let's take a breather. And this is great because it gets us into the game. I think what makes it complicated is that when Book of Mormon was first being created, we had the creators of South Park. That's a very popular show. And that satire isn't new. The same argument of Book of Mormon is still being made about South Park. Is South Park racist or is it incredibly clever satire? And what we do know is that's going to be debated for a while, and years to come, we'll know a definite answer because we're all going to get wiser. But for now, in the moment that was being conceived, it was tough because it wasn't as clear. And I kind of want to explore that idea of what do we do when the decisions aren't clear? So I'm ready to bring up that game that I said we were going to play. Are you ready? All five?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right, let's see if we can get 5 out of 5s on these. So the game is Yaz or mess. Yaz or mess. Now, Yaz is being the affirmative. May I have Effie White number 1? Hair. Yaz or mess? Simple Yaz or mess?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, 5 out of 5. Give me Effie White number 2. That skirt. Okay, Yaz or mess?
Yeah.
All right, so we got a Yaz for the old school, Yaz for the new school. Can we get Effie White number 3?
Do you see my face?
Wait, pause.
Beauty pageants.
Like that video never gets less horrifying every time I see it. So a big old obvious mess.
All right, so we got 5 out of. She said the same place. Okay, so we got 5 out of 5. Now the point of that is all 3 of those decisions are very easy. I was watching last week. There's a casting director named Kate Lumpkin who gave up her platform to Black intellectuals who discussed it. Black Lives Matter. Can we get that Kate Lumpkin clip?
And unfortunately, in this society, Black women are at the bottom of that totem pole. They float in an orbit so far out of there, but little does most of this country know Black women are the backbone of this country. And the thing that also scares them about trans women is that they are Black women just like everyone else, but that frightens them because they might have not been born that way, and they do have the audacity and they do have the pride, which is fucking beautiful and fucking brilliant, but they look at that as the ultimate, like all of a sudden you're going to step on them and tell them they're otherworldly or different, and it's like, no, we're not about that. I don't know.
All right, this is where it gets hard. This is the future of our industry, and these are the decisions you're going to have to make. Everyone in that comment section, I need to know. For data purposes, I need all 5 of you to vote. I need everyone to voice on this. This is the question. This is the prompt. Would you hire a Black trans woman to play Effie White?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I don't think that'd be a problem.
Especially if she can hit the note.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to be if she can hit the note.
Yeah.
If she came in and played it, why the hell not? She's
told the story. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
All right. In any way, do you think you are taking work from, you know what? Let's open it up. Can we play Constance?
you look at all the contracts that were given out, they were all people who weren't, nobody of color got a contract in Seussical. And so, you know, and so it's that kind of thing where I can do this great production of The Color Purple and and be seen in LA. And not only that, just share my gifts with the world. When I maybe wouldn't get cast, because if they cast that in LA, they're gonna audition everybody and bring them from New York. Also, a lot of people who couldn't afford to go to university for theater, especially people of color, they get their acting chops on those little stages. That is how they really are taught how to act, because they couldn't afford to get the degree. They couldn't afford all the student loans that came with it. They couldn't afford to take time away from their families and not work and learn, you know, and be taught how to do true theater at the same time. So that's why it was so important to do that.
Constance?
Yes.
May I sneak in really quick, only because time's pressing? I want to. All right, here we go. Gary, I want you to answer this first because you work a 99-seat theater. She was discussing the value of a 99-seat theater contract, and we know this is a LA-centric issue. And what I want to ask is essentially, if diversity, equality, and fair representation was offered, like if everyone raised the bar and everyone was offering that, would that mean the death of the 99-seat theater contract?
Wow. I don't know. In what way do you think it would be the death? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Well, Constance brings up the idea that 99-seat theater, and again, when I moved to LA, it blew my mind. I was like, people wanted, like, again, just paying bills, putting food on the table. It seems very tough to have a quality of life under a 99-seat theater. I remember that it was coming under fire 2013, 2014. We thought that contract was going to be gone. We thought it wasn't going to exist anymore, because the big argument was, we see $1 million lighting plots and you can't line our pockets. Like that was that argument that was going in, which of course we understand there's two sides to that, but it stayed. And it stayed because of people like Constance, who said, any other time, I wouldn't get the opportunity I was normally afforded. Yeah. So if that opportunity was there from these bigger theaters, would that mean the death of the 99-seat theater contract?
Well, first of all, I don't think, I mean, I can't compete with Tom, and Tom can't compete with me. I mean, the bottom line is, it's so much, we're in different worlds in terms of what we can do and what we can manage here. The 99-seat theater is there to develop, to create, to open the doors for playwrights, artists of all color. And that's it was a playground. It was basically set up to be that. It was basically set up to be the sandbox, to really develop the craft and work out your things. For a playwright to a new playwright to be produced at a theater like Tom's or a TJ or anything like that, the expense and the cost of all of that is extraordinary. So I think it's apples and oranges. I mean, I think 99-seat theater is going to stay, and it needs to stay. And there's no way that it's going to be demolished in any way, shape, or form, because it offers something that no other places can offer, and that is the experiment. And that is the things that Tom and TJ and Steve and Paul love to do, which is create, but we can do it, less expensively, and affords us that opportunity to take more chances.
Paul, you've been in this industry for a minute. From your resume, what are your thoughts on this?
I'm kind of going the opposite way. I would love to be able to develop a 99-seat theater so I could do some of this type of stuff. Because as Gary said, when you're spending $500,000 or more on a production, it's really tough. But I would love to, we're part of the same group that the Greenlight production that Tom and TJ have joined as well. I think Steve's on it too. To develop these playwrights and to help with it. But then we need a black box. We need some place that we can do that. I can probably get funding for it, but I just can't do it on the main stage yet. Hopefully there'll be that time. But I'd love to have a smaller theater.
Yeah, I think there's a collaboration that can happen between 99 seats and the larger theaters, where there can be a jumping off point, where there can be, the experiment that happens at our theaters that then can get redone. I'd love to be part of this inclusion group. I'd love to have a 99 theater in that, because we can, offer things that, that the others can't right now. And that is, a chance to, to play in the sandbox.
Then let's break this right now. You have a 99-seat theater. Paul, your Musical Theater West. If both of you were looking for that collaboration, is it possible, especially in Los Angeles, to have those two theaters merge?
I say this in that the research I've done on it, because we've looked into it even for like staged readings and other things to partner with people. We're looking at doing like a 3D underground thing. We'll be able to do exactly kind of what we're talking about. But partnerships, it's a conversation that has to be had with the union. Because our contract and their contract are so different, and they would look at the theaters of our size trying to take advantage of the smaller, less expensive, more affordable, whatever you want to say, contract to do this kind of work on. So it's a kind of something that we really can answer in saying yes, we would love to, but the actuality is that the conversation that would have to be had with the union.
Right, but I think that the conversation from our standpoint is that we'd be open to looking at that. I think all of us would be open to looking at that, and to find a way within the unions. Listen, we're in a wild time right now, and we want to get into what that is about right now, but things are going to have to change, in a drastic way with this pandemic and the models that we've been going with before. And we now dealing with the Black Lives Matter issue, which is now also going to impact on it. So I think unions are going to have to start working with us. We're going to have to start working with them. And we're going to have to find, a way where we can say, listen, we need to be able to develop these things, but then we want the ability to move it and offer a better contract, a more expensive contract, without taking advantage of the actor or the designer or the directors.
Then here's my question. 3 survey questions, and then we'll go into another discussion, probably our last discussion because we're pressed for time. Number 1, out of the 5 of you, has anyone sent a proposal to Actors Equity on how to reopen or what they plan to do for their theater?
I'm about to.
All right. Number 2, let's not ask the why then. So we have 5 people. We have a couple of people who are ready to develop and do that. We know, working with our unions, that things tend to take time. Things tend to take a very long time. Would you give up your platform? For example, I've suspended the receipts. As in now, my main purpose is to push and prod, poke and cradle and caress for a bill or an agreement. So when we start back up, we all know that Black theater matters. Would you be open to throwing your platforms up behind groups that are actively looking to get a bill to present to these unions?
Absolutely. Why not? That's a no-brainer.
Yep.
Yes.
100%.
All righty. And then the last question is, and of course I have all these scribbles. Y'all, we went through a lot. I did not expect that. Can we play Benet?
I'm sorry, what?
Again?
Don't worry about it, guys.
Are you interested in doing this role? And I said, sure, why not? I'm all about breaking barriers, opening doors. Let's do some stuff. Let's make some change. And apparently they were told by the casting director that she's not available because she has a disability and she's taking care of herself. And my agent called me back and said, this is what's going on. And I said, the sheer shock and the sheer sucker punch that I felt was like, are you kidding me? First off, at that point, it wasn't, public knowledge that I had this disability. And secondly, how dare you discredit me and take me out of the running just because of what you know of the disability, not necessarily what is actually true of the disability and how different people act different ways and have different symptoms. And it was just like, this is disgusting. This is absolutely disgusting. I cried for days. And my agent, I love him to death because he stood up for me. He was like, first off, that's not any of their knowledge. That's not for public knowledge. Secondly, how dare you discredit her because of something that she happened to have land in her lap. And thirdly, she told me this information as we were sitting at Chuck E. Cheese with our children. So I think she would have been able to tell me if she would not have been able to do the role. So you just literally, A, expressed my medical knowledge to a director defaming my character, and B, what was your sole purpose to do such? Why would
All right. Would any of you, this is a yes or no question, would any of you fire or out someone on your staff would you fire or suspend someone on your staff who has outed a disability or something that isn't for public knowledge?
Yes.
100%.
Yep.
All right. Number two, with everything that's going on, with the slow pace and everything else, are any of you considering the idea of going non-union in being free of the union?
No, I actually had it's a yes or no question. No.
I was waiting. I was going to be like, no, stop it. All right, guys, we are 2 minutes away, and this is an ongoing thing. I would like all of you to come back as we continue. We have a lot of actionable items. We have a lot of things that can go forward, that can be developed, and that's great. All from an hour and a half conversation. So I want to thank you all for being here. Please come back when we have this. I'll see you all in the waiting room a little bit after I say goodbye to our guests, okay?
And thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. People. We just did something really, really good. I'm going to encourage them to look at the comments. I'm going to encourage everyone to continue the discussions. I want everyone to use these comments as a place for us to data mine. If you heard anything today that is a solution, like even as soon as this is done, I'm going back to episode 1 and 2 because I kind of want to give buffers just so I can see it with new eyes. And I'm going to look at everything that was discussed and I'm going to start writing down and stuff like that. What I love, I think about President Barack Obama. He gave this in one of the 2020 commencement speeches where he says, right now, we're seeing a lot of people, I'm paraphrasing, we're seeing emperors with no clothes. We're seeing that a lot of people at the top aren't in a place where they can deal with this. People who can deal with this are us. I have no social media following. I'm an introvert. I do not like talking in front of things. It is very important to me that this is solved so I can go back to being obscure. I love obscurity. I love going somewhere and minding my business and no one caring. So this is our time. It really is all hands on deck. As you can see, there are producers who are ready. As you saw last week, we have people in our union councils who are ready. Not all, but we're getting there. We're getting there. Pretty soon, we're going to talk to casting directors. We're going to talk to everyone. This is a great platform. I'm happy I created it because one, I think everyone's getting a chance to come together. My whole goal for this is to get us together and get, I'm sorry for cursing, get shit done. This also isn't the only one. We have the Broadway Advocacy Coalition. We have everyone else. It doesn't matter how we get there. We just gotta do. And there is no time than right now. Peace.